when you fill out your business license application form, it says right there, use this form if you live in R3, which you do.
Mm-hmm.
So according to the zoning regs, short-term rentals are permitted use.
That's
It's
why I
in
bought
here.
my house. I know.
Yeah.
That's why I bought my
You
house.
don't
I
need
get
anything.
it. Well, then
other
so
than that.
the 7 months I haven't been able to do business in the last. What's that all about? Why wasn't I grandfathered? What was that all about? Why did they return my license? Why didn't they respond to this heavy
My
letter?
understanding is that you didn't comply with the regs because
They told me I wasn't allowed to. They said you're shut down. You don't grandfather. We don't give you the option to be grandfathered.
right. So what did I say to you? My understanding is that you didn't comply with the regulations because you didn't live there full time. You weren't a principal resident.
And they said, we didn't like your advertising because we think you're renting a suite. And I said, I understand that they're allowed to use the whole top of my house, but nobody ever said anything about where I lived. All they said was, you have a stove upstairs, therefore, this is a long-term rent, or this is a vacation rental, not a room rental. And I understand that there's discrepancy there, but all they had to do was say don't or give me any warning, and I would happily have changed it. But I was told the reason I wasn't grandfathered is they didn't like my advertising. Nothing to do with, and this I can find that repeatedly in emails, nothing to do with who lived there or anything like that. So not getting back to me, I sent this letter in January or February. I didn't hear anything till March, and then all I got was a letter saying, we think you have a secret suite. We'd like to, we want to have them investigate and see if you have a illegal suite in your house in addition to your house. So then Bruce came, looked, said no, she only has one kitchen, it's upstairs. And then I said, well, so why didn't I get my rental? And then they said, we'll send Brian, and now Brian says,
So were you the principal resident?
there's no principal resident, I rented
And
it out.
You have to be the principal resident, so you weren't the
But
principal
nobody
resident.
said that to me, and that has never been made known to me.
Again, it's really clear on this application form, you have to be here's the things you need to comply with.
But they wouldn't give me the application.
It's online.
Okay, but they said you're not allowed to apply for long-term rental,
Because you
or
aren't the
short-term
principal
rental,
resident.
only summer rental. I know that,
Yes,
but,
and
okay.
that's why you can only do summer, because you aren't the principal
So
resident.
then I said, can I get someone in? And I hired Jasmine Foley. She moved in. I have a contract with her to manage it for the winter, last winter. She
Right.
moved in November. She was ready to manage it in on 2016,
Yeah.
or 17, as soon as it hit.
Yeah.
Then I got the notice that we were closed down. So I had to continue to rent to this woman all winter,
Mhm.
who then had nothing to manage. My business was shut down. My manager was in place.
Yeah, but she's renting out your place, so you're making money off of her.
Which, she was going to be the live-in rental to comply, to have an on-site person.
Right, so at that time, no one thought that you complied. because
But
you
I
weren't the
did.
principal
They never
resident.
asked. They never asked.
Okay, it's not our job to ask, so you need to
No,
come
I-
in and fill out the application form, and if you didn't agree with it, then you should
No,
have
they only
pushed
gave me
it.
the option. I'm pushing it here, and I hate to have to push it. And they only gave me the option of summer short-term rental. They
Which is
said-
all you got, because you weren't the primary resident.
But if I'm grandfathered, it doesn't matter.
It does
So,
matter.
So it does matter. I
The
don't.
only thing grandfathering gets you is out of that $500 deposit, that's it.
Okay, so but now I have a live-in, so I can apply with Keegan as a live-in.
Now you can,
Okay, if Keegan breaks his leg or flunks out of school,
find somebody else.
and I can do that, and do I have to inform you?
Yeah, I need another copy of the contract that just shows that you have a long-term tenant in there, and give me their name, that's all I need.
Okay, and then the other question just went out the door. Keegan, long-term rental. If I don't know, do I have another question? Something like, okay. How many people has the city investigated to find out how many rentals went down in Airbnb and HomeAway over that 4 years that were not legal rentals? Did they ever ask to subpoena Airbnb and say how many millions of dollars of rentals were put out, because that's in the Airbnb records, and find out how many people actually rented places illegally? Do we know that?
No.
Are we going to?
No.
Okay. I'm just wondering how my business will go up, so I make my business decisions accordingly.
So I go back to council 2017, so this is really like a test year for us, right? 2017, so next, in the spring, I go back to council and say, okay, so they want to know what happened as a result of these new regulations put in place. And so I go back and give an update. And so some people have some concerns around this, and it's mainly people who want to do this as an investment. So they want to purchase a couple of properties in Nelson, not live there, and rent them out as
Exactly.
Airbnbs.
Exactly.
So those are the people who have had the main concerns. And so I've said to everybody, in writing, send me something so that I understand what your concerns are, and I can tell council, look, these are the concerns that we've had. So what would be really helpful is if you could put your concerns in writing to me so that I can include it in that report to council.
Okay, and that was this letter here. These were all my concerns.
Yes, and so I do have this.
Right? This, all my concerns and everything we talked about is here.
And so if you have any other concerns that you want me to tell council about specifically.
I have to decide, this is my life savings and my future and my retirement, and if you're American, you don't have government to fall back on. So I have to make smart decisions here, and they're serious decisions. And to be out of business for the last 7 months is like $38,000 of difference in my life, right? And to have not had full rentals for the last 5 years because of all the unfair competition is also a lot of money out of my pocket because the city allowed all these people to operate without it. I feel as if compensation is in order, or at least some kind of leverage on my taxes or my cost of this or my cost of that, because I definitely lost a huge amount of money because of the city's choices, and not due to fault of my own. And I don't think that I cheated in any way or that I didn't comply, and I showed up a lot. And all I did was I've gotten runaround, and I can, even though you can tell me the stories of Lisa, you didn't do or you didn't do, I did do. And I was not allowed, nobody talked as straight to me as you have since I've been here. I was not allowed to apply. When I said I want to be grandfathered, they said you can only do a summer rental. I said no, it
Again,
says,
because you weren't the primary resident, and that's very
but
clear
it
in the
says
rules.
right here on the website that that's not true. When I went in, I can show you, I saved it, hold on. I saved it. I'm not really organized, so it might take me a little while to find.
I'm surprised that it would say that when the bylaw says very clearly you have to be the primary resident unless it's a summer license. So I don't know about that one.
Okay, here it is. Okay, if you want to rent an property in Nelson or considering renting on a temporary basis, you must ensure that the land use regulation is short-term rental. That's correct. But you are likely to require your rental agreement to obtain written permission from your landlord to sublet on a short-term basis. So you can sublet on a short-term basis. If you rent a property in Nelson, you're considering renting on temporary, you must also ensure, so someone can sublet my property, and this is from your website showing me that I can have somebody, one of my tenants, live here and do it. It says right here.
So that's not what the bylaw says.
Okay, but as a resident of Nelson, it is reasonable to agree that if I look on your website for the rules, I can trust the rules on your website. And clearly this rule on your website is a mistake.
Okay, so it's a mistake, maybe.
Okay, well it says that I can have.
But then you would come in here and they would go, no, you can't do it.
Okay,
which you
so
did.
well, okay, so
Correct?
which is so I think the city of Nelson is responsible for the content of their website
Correct.
regarding to people who are investing and doing
Correct.
business in their
So
town.
you would have thought, oh, I can do it, and then you would have come in here and you would have realized you can't do it, which is exactly what happened.
No, I disagree. I think that there's a legal obligation of the city of Nelson if they post laws and rules on their website for those laws and rules to be valid laws and rules. And if they're not, and people make investments based on the research.
So did you have a long-term tenant that came in and said, I want to do
Yes.
short-term rental?
Yes.
You did?
Yes. I've had series of, just recently it was Jasmine Foley. When this was up, Jasmine